So like most guys, I had like the ramping up to it, where it's like you listen to Iron Maiden, then you listen to Metallica, and then like the big four, so Slayer, Anthrax, and Megadeth also, and then somebody plays something a little more extreme for you, and then more and more and more. So I would say by the time I was 17, maybe, so that's like 1990, when like death metal was like sort of blowing up. Yeah, that's probably when. I never know, right? You always just wait and find out, kind of. Like somebody does something that's so like kind of interesting and never heard before, and you're like, holy cow, like what is that? And maybe more like electronic music, sort of incorporating with sort of heavier music, like how like Venetian Snares did, or even some of the Aphex Twin or Autechre stuff, but maybe more like heavy and maybe vocal stuff going on in there too. I mean, who's to say like what's going to be next? I'm not really sure. I think just the like crazy amount of talent that you see, I feel like it was more of a rarity when I was coming up. You wouldn't see these just incredible drummers and guitar players all over the place, and all of a sudden you just see one guy who's better than the next guy, and people are just pushing like what they can do with their instruments or multiple instruments. So probably just seeing like how crazy people can think and play is kind of exciting. They're interested in like analyzing the music, right? People who are into that stuff, because I think we kind of put it out there. Bands like Meshuggah, who just have these interesting patterns that people are like, I need to figure out what the hell's going on, and then I need to learn how to groove to whatever the hell they got going on, and once I figure it out, it'll help me do that. So I think people who are analytical, maybe, yeah.
I liked the Police, and then I really liked Iron Maiden. I got into guitar, and then I got into thrash and like Creator and shit like that. And then like, when did this style even exist that I was aware? Probably Meshuggah. Had to be. Oh no, Dillinger. Actually, it was Dillinger. It was Greg showing me Dillinger while we were touring in Neck, this band Neck that we had before Carbomb. So Greg put on Dillinger and Phantomas or something. I just remember being like, "What the fuck is that?" Like, and I remember being like, "It's not my fucking thing." And then, like a month later or 2 months later, that's fucking amazing. But like, it took me a little while. So I don't know, 1998 or 2000, I don't know, somewhere around there was like the first time I heard this shit, and I was like, wow, that's just crazy. Like, in music in general, I have to say, like, any band that does this genre of music but does something new with it, whatever that is, it doesn't have to be, I don't know how you'd be more extreme, or they used a like Archspire or something like that, where you're like, what the fuck are these guys even doing? Like, that's cool and it's fucking crazy. But then, it doesn't have to go that way either, or, it could go, this band, plays a flute instead of a guitar through something and does this, but they're still considered this genre somehow, and they don't use guitars or something. Just something original and some kind of constraints to make it real art is interesting. So I don't know, I just feel like it's a more general music thing, but like, I love, even like bands like Tira Milos, or like bands that are like mathy or like odd, but aren't necessarily metal, or like I still consider that extreme, because it's like stuff people aren't comfortable hearing. So I like that. I like things that are unusual and that take you by surprise. And I feel like that, with technology and everything that we have, it's easier for more and more people to do cool fucking shit, like from their bedroom, and just fucking put it out there. So
like, And Justice for All came out, and that was kind of like thrash, and then immediately I got into like Creator and Sepultura, like Beneath the Remains era type stuff, and I started learning to play all those records, and that's like, I was addicted to that, and then like 91 hit, and it was like death metal, and I immediately joined like a Carcass ripoff band. I had like a pitch shifter on a microphone behind my drum set, and it was like, big Carcass fan, Morbid Angel, all the Pestilence, all that stuff. I was a big head, and at that point I was living in Virginia Beach, so it was like a little more like thrash, skater, death metal thing, and we used to go up and hang out in DC a lot, and Richmond, and like with the Deceased, and like all those old school fucking death metal heads, and so that was like my upbringing and on the extreme side of things, before I went more off into like the fusion land or whatever. So I kind of came into it through thrash and death metal, and then went into the jazz side of things afterwards, you know, with that kind of head. So we were opening my band at the time. It was like the name of the band was Bereaved, like out of Virginia, and we were opening up for Entombed on Clandestine in DC, outside of DC. And there was this Swedish death metal or black metal band at the time that I didn't know who they were, and the guy was like, "Hey, can I borrow your snare drum?" Right? So I'm like, "Sure." And I gave him my snare drum, and the lights go out before they hit, and a fucking spotlight on the drummer, and he's got a chalice of blood like this, and he just pours it all down his face and like all into my snare drum. And I was a kid, I was like 12. So I like mowed lawns for that fucking thing, like over the summer, you know, and it was just all sticky and gooey, full of like fake blood, you know. So that was like my first lesson in don't lend gear to anybody, you know. So that's a good one. The car bomb thing, you know what I mean, is like, I don't know, it's trying to push rhythmic boundaries. Like I'm a drummer, so I'm a student of rhythm, you know what I mean. So I try and just like play beats that I haven't heard before on records, you know what I mean? And it seems like there's a lot of bands trying to push the rhythmic boundaries of things, like a lot of tuplets and a lot of fucking like weird polyrhythmic shit going on. And when I hear stuff that I haven't heard before that they aren't like stock beats, I fucking get excited. So that's the shit I'm listening for, is like people doing really, you know, innovative, weird stuff. And that catches my ear more than anything else, yeah. That's something that's really changed over the years, like the stock repertoire of what a drummer is expected to do between like early 90s and now. It's like a whole other set of facility that you know. So I'm an old dog, so I'm trying to do like, I can't do like a lot of the hyper stuff or whatever, so I'm pulling from like the more jazz fusion stuff and like more straight metal stuff. Like I say that I can go like Lombardo fast. That's like as fast as I can go or whatever. But I try and keep it interesting, you know what I mean? So, and a lot of the younger cats are listening to me, like the rhythmic ideas I come up with, and they think it's fresh, you know, even though I'm not doing the more impressive technical stuff, you know what I mean? Like technique stuff, but that's, you know, drummer stuff, so. The evolution of drum programming by guitarists have really pushed, like a guitarist be like, play this, and it's like, I can't play that, and then, you know, somebody's gonna lock themselves in a room and be able to fucking play it, you know what I mean? So it makes me happy to play this style of music, you know what I mean? Like I'm not a full-time musician. It's kind of like a part-time glory. Like I have a company and I work most of the time, so like if I'm gonna dedicate my time to do something, and it really makes a difference that it's something that is pushing my boundaries and makes me happy, you know what I mean? And all the guys in the band have like similar tastes, you know, we're all coming from different places, but you know, we're doing it for the love of it, you know what I mean? It's like, and there's very little commercial aspect like built into the tunes, you know what I mean? So it's more like musician nerd, you know, or people who just like weird, super heavy shit, you know? So that makes me happy to see people, you know, we've actually grown a following over the last 20 years, you know, of people who dig what we were doing, and, you know, and we've had a lot of people who are in big bands dig what we're doing and take us out and shit like that, you know, even without a label or without a, you know, booking agent and that type of stuff. So super happy that, you know, I could be playing in a room by myself, but it's turned out to where it's been amazing, you know.